Welcome, 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 welcome. On time today. Today must be a very, 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 very special day as we are here. Yes, my people, greetings to everyone out there. Greetings, greetings, greetings to you all. And praises be unto the Most High, right, for all things, for existing. For us existing here, praises and honor and glory be unto the Most High in the highest of praise, right? So we're here. Welcome everyone to the Naked Truth as we're here again, and it's another topic. Should I say it's another topic, right? And discussion. Another truth that we have to establish here. So we're here and we're feeling good, man. And, nothing more than love, nothing more than that. So today we're going to get into something because we've been talking and we've been talking a lot about, we've been talking a lot about how to identify the Hebrews today, like how to identify, how do you identify the people that the Most High had a covenant and a great promise with, right? And as we understood today in this modern time, and as the shift, there's a great shift that took place where another group or other groups of people came in, claiming the identity of the original people. And there's so many questions around the idea, right, of who the Hebrew Israelites are, and a lot of question and also a lot of debate throughout the years trying to identify them. It's very simple. This is why we're talking about it again, and we're on actually part 3 because we had some very interesting conversation with some people here in the comments and questions about Islam and other religious groups. So we're here to bring the truth, as we said, the naked truth, and that's what we're talking about. That's what we're about. No sugarcoating in anything. No respecting other people's feelings when we're talking about the truth, because that's what we're here to establish. So how to identify the Hebrew Israelites, right? That's what the title of the video is. And today's part 3, right? So we're going to get deep into it. And there's a lot of debate out there going on. But, and once the Hebrew Israelites, once people today understood, which a lot of people do, but they denied it, even though they read the text and the text point and all evidence point to who the people are. It because of the lies, the great lies that were told, a lot of people have doubts, and because the population are, I want to say the population, but the ruling power is different, has a different complexion in everything, right? So everything they put out there has to bear their image, right? That's what the ruling power would have done, and that's what they're doing. So if you go back, you could take a look for yourselves, right? We're talking about the prophets, right? And we're talking about textbook, as academia has done such a job, right? In indoctrinating our children and adults and adolescents, right? They did such a job to have even their own people thinking a certain way. So there are images, and these images that they presented represents them, right? How could it be something else? Like you go to Europe, in a place where all white people live, and then the representation there, right, of the greatest people, right, is some black images of Mashue. That would have, what encouragement would, a white person, children or child would have had? They would have to be following someone else. So they would have no place. It would seem as if they have no place if they have to emulate somebody else's, right? This would probably be something of a common thinking, right? So if you look within the society, you will understand why And when people talk about systemic racism and stuff like that, and a lot of people say, "Oh, there's not no conspiracy. There's no such thing." And we're illusional or delusional thinking about this idea. There's no such thing. It's not happening, right? But in fact, those things are actually happening, right? So, for a nation of people that's ruling over another nation, they wouldn't teach the other nation, right? Especially if it wasn't, if their integration, right, wasn't a peaceful one. It didn't happen respectfully in a way where individual respected each other. It just happened by default, right? It just happened like, oh, this is it. You were slave before. No, you're not slave anymore, but we still control everything still. And you live underneath our rule, our government. So you actually are not free. So you have to fight for things. This is why we're talking about civil rights, liberty. People have to be, black people are, so-called in America and around the world has to be fighting for this. Because why? They're not included, right? You're not included. So we're talking about a white society, right? That caters to white people, a free world, according to them, right? For where white people can be free, right? And those are the rebellious ones that were in Europe. They say, well, we can be free here, express ourselves the way we want. This is their society, right? However means they used to establish it, and the bloodshed and the labor of blacks, right? African people. But regardless of the history or the horrific history behind how they claim this land and, and what they did, right? Still remains, right? That this is their society. So, what they would say, the conquerors, right? They would write their story, how they view their story. They have all right to write what they experience, right? Whether it deems to be truthful, right, or not. They would have written their story, right? So when you're in a society like this one, and you have melanated people, right, or descendants, call them descendants of slaves who live here, right? Who their parents were slaves, they ended up here by default. They wanted to get rid of them. At one point, they make an attempt and actually succeeded in sending some of them back to Liberia, and then there were some that remained, right? They didn't want to get rid of every one of them. So when they said that it failed, according to them, right, the colonialism treaty or whatever they was doing, right? So basically, they said it failed. It didn't fail. They'd realize that if we send all these people back, who's going to be working, right? So they had to keep some, but they didn't want too much, right? They wanted to kind of control the population of people or how many people left. That, so they didn't want everybody to outnumber the white population. So they had to get rid of some. That was the whole thing. Not what they say in front of the press and the media outlets, right? It's what the truth was. We can't allow these niggers or Negroes to populate, right? Or overpopulate the areas and outnumber us, right? Because we have done so many things to them. They have done so much to the slaves, right? You have to understand within their minds, they're still preparing for some form of retribution. I'm talking about even the people that died and their descendants exist today are still, because they are well aware of that history. They're well aware of what transpired, and there was no retaliation for what took place. And this is numerous occasion, numerous time frame where different things happen to different groups of the same people, right? Atrocities were committed against them. So you understand why they would have this fear inside of what might happen and how to keep these people uneducated and to change the narrative and the truth about who they are. You understand why it has to happen, right? So it's not a fair system. If it was, when integration began, it would have been a round table talk. People would have sat down and decided, well, You have slaved for our ancestors, and since the newer generation said that they had nothing to do with it, but yet they haven't make any attempt, right, to change what their ancestors put in place. So therefore, they're saying, I have nothing, but they in fact have something to do with it, because if you're upholding what they did, then that's what you're doing. Black people are not looking for handout. And I'm using the term black because this is what they've been called, right? They're not looking for handout. They want opportunity to work and to build themselves. And this is what they're not getting. They're not getting the opportunity. And somehow they've been controlled with these laws and rules and regulations, and who work the same job and getting less pay, and the opportunities is just not equal among the people living here. We can talk about, oh, well, there are opportunities as far as you can go out and go work. That's not an opportunity. That's a survival. They know that you need to survive, so they have to provide. And this now the wages based on those those jobs, right? We're talking about minimum, very minimum, that you can accumulate generational wealth from that. So it's been controlled. So all the wealth that they took, right, that your ancestors worked for them, all that wealth been accumulated by European, and they have those wealth, and they pass it down to their descendants, and they set up their cities, and they set up what you call incentives, right? Bonuses, different opportunities for their people. So we're talking FHA program, we're talking about loan program, we're talking about other different things that are in place that we don't know about. Like our people don't know about it, right? If a person of a European descent, don't whisper these information to you, won't know. They won't tell you everything about how their people survive and what they could do to survive. So we don't have the same equality. So if we had that, then we wouldn't be talking about race, and we wouldn't be talking about police brutality. We wouldn't talk about racial profile. All of these things would not be a topic, right? The fact that they are a topic, it means that the same thing from Jim Crow era from slavery to Jim Crow to this point is the same, right? It's the same thing. Nothing has changed, really. But because some people believe, because they could sit in the front of the bus now, that it's okay. So, psychologically, this is how they work on the minds of the people. Someone will take everything that you have and let you struggle and suffer, right, for years, and then they will come back and give you just a small amount, and just that small amount, right? Just like you're thirsty, right? And somebody just give you a cork, just a small cork of water, right? How appreciative you would be for that person. Oh my God, he saved my life. He gave me this. But you're worth more than that, right? But they denied you of these things. So you believe that you're working to earn a cork of water when you could be getting a bottle of water, right? So they're giving you this as like, see, we care about you. We're giving you some water and save you. And what you going to do? Even though you know this person is the enemy, right? What you going to do? You know what I'm saying? What are you going to do? You're going to, you're happy. It's just like, even with a dog, you beat this and abuse this dog. When the dog sees you start wiggling still, it's happy to see you. No, he's depending on you to survive. And he's taking the hill treatment, right? He don't want to take it. He has no other choice. Especially for the dog, he has no other choice. But for us, we have a choice. But we're blinded because academia tends to play a part in keeping us in darkness. And this is why we have to understand ourselves, right? And understand who we are, where we're from, so that we can figure out where we're going. So this is why we're here and talking about how to identify the people, the Hebrews, right? And it's very, it's very, very, very vivid as we look at our society, or this society. We don't say our society, because some people tend to speak about what's transpiring in this great country, right? And then they try to claim or attach themselves to it. Oh, this is we did. And no, we didn't do nothing. The rulers of this country did these things, put orders in place, or order in place for people to act and to execute. Not the common people saying, oh, this is mines, mines, mines. People of those people, right, who are descendants and who are connected to these people ethnically, right, have the right to speak about, well, this is mine, this is ours. They're relatives, right? They're the same people. They could speak on whatever their ancestors did or put in place for them. Other groups don't have the right or authority to say that, right? So this is why within this society, this white free society that caters to white people, right? They would not have a black image of a Messiah, a black image of the Messiah's mother, a black image of the greatest monuments that are built. They would all dilute these ideas and turn them into white because it would show. Because how could you enslave someone, then you turn around and credit them for the greatest invention and things that man has ever behold, right? How could you deny them? And you write all these negative things about them. You say that they're nothing, they're inferior, they're whatever you want to call them, right? And at the end of the day, saying all of this to them, then you turn around and say, well, they're responsible, right, to build in the pyramid and other historical things that are existing out there, right, that they claim for themselves. They couldn't give that to you. So they couldn't say that the prophets were actually black. They couldn't say that the angels are black either. They're reflecting, they're the rulers in this society, and everything has to reflect, right, their image. Right? It's amazing, right? Everything that they do, and this is a problem that it's very hard for a common person to figure out. A person that lives here, especially a black American or black West Indian, whoever in the diaspora, right? How to figure this out? How do we understand where we are? It's not about that no more. It's about survival. And because survival becomes more of a magnitude for us, everything else is overshadowed. Even the truth, right, is overshadowed because we spend time. How do we fit in? How to accomplish things? What to do to gain things? This is more of what's pressuring the mind and our thoughts every day, right? You would understand why the 12 disciples are white, and they would have image of them saying that's who they are. And you would understand why there would be no debate among other groups of people outside who have the same complexion as them, right? Wouldn't say anything. And my point is, this is, there was this Cleopatra thing that they're talking, and Nefertiti, where they turned white. I know they did a movie, and because a black woman do this, and there's a problem with it, but they have never said anything before, right? Prior to this, right? It was always one white person represents all white persons, right? This is how they look at it. They don't care whether it's France or Greek or whoever it is. They going to be, feel proud because why? It's a white person. Now, when I say this is to say, right, that the images that are presented on a whole within the society and around the world, right? Look at it. All the prophets. There is no black prophets at all. The 12 prophets on every single one of them. Even when they show you booklets, right? And it is showing you that, oh, there's a picture in heaven and all of these things. All you see is who? All white people there. There's no black people in heaven either. So it makes you ask a question. So who are black people, and why are they keeping black people out of everything? Because they know who they are. They know who these people are, right? So it's not like they don't know the history. They know it. But what? It benefits them nothing to tell you about your history. You have to find that yourself. In order for us as a people to strive, right? In order for us to strive is to separate ourselves. Realize this, and I'm talking about everybody that live in this country, black, who call themselves Black American, but you're not an American either. But you're descendants of the slave who were taken from the West Coast in Africa, who went to the West Coast of Africa, who migrated from their home during the Roman prosecution. So we're talking about the Israelite slaves who are scattered among the nation today. right? On the four corners of the earth, right? We're talking to them. You're not an American, neither Jamaican or Trinidadian and all these other labels that they give you to make you feel like you're different from each other. You're not. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? But this is the brainwash system that is set in place to keep you submissive, to keep you in darkness. So when you look around and ask yourself the question, all the angels are white, right? The depiction of the Messiah is white, right? There is none whatsoever. So the population of people that are the strongest people on the planet, the people that can sustain themselves in this ecosystem, live in any temperature, right? What about them? Where did they come from? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Where do they come from? Where do black people come from? So they you know, these people, and I really don't want to get into too much of this because I want to actually do this for a different topic, right? And you know, for a different video when I'm explaining to you about race, what transpired, what took place during that time. So I actually want to leave that. So I you know, hello, welcome. You know, I want to get down, and as you know, some of the people start coming in, we can really get down into, you know, the real deal about what we're talking about, how to identify the Hebrew Israelites. Yeah, greetings, and welcome. So, welcome to everyone. As we said, this is the Naked Truth, and I was just kind of talking about some things regarding the society and how history has been, you know, been written, and what we have learned and what we were taught, and how academia play a great role in deceiving people, millions of people. You know, this is basically what we're talking about. So what you expect, and I'm saying this based on, we talked about the Egyptians before. We're going to definitely get back into that again at some point. But as you can see, how to identify the Hebrews today, and this we're on part 3. Good evening, and welcome to everyone. Herman, Brandy, all right, Abraham, welcome. So, how to identify the Hebrews, because it's very important for the nations around to know who the Hebrew Israelites are. And for some scholars and you know, archaeologists and all these other members who held high position, right, in teaching and educating people based on history and all these other things, tend to have the story, you know, shaped in a certain way to represent themselves and their people, right? So they say nothing about the indigenous, the people who are actually the people. And even you read the book and it tells you everything about, you know, how to identify the people. They're in denial, right? They're in denial. They don't want to know about that, because when you you know, you put all your effort into discrediting you know, someone, Trump, big up yourself, greetings, to discredit not just one person, right, but a whole nation of people. How do you go back to correct that? How do you go back to say, well, my father lied, and he told me that he lied, and I just didn't want to say it. And I tell my kids the same thing, but I just didn't want to say it. I mean, how do you go back to tell someone that you discredited, say they didn't do this and they didn't do this, and you know, I'm talking about hundreds of years has passed, and you know, they're the persons that actually live within the time when these incidents happen are no longer there, but their descendants exist now still. When the descendants of both party, one is innocent to the fact, and the other one learn from, you know, his foreparents that these are the things that happen. Welcome, greetings to everyone, and welcome. So it's very important, right? How we look at life, especially in the society that we live, and pay attention to the things that are happening. See, we're more focused, as I said, on surviving. This is the distraction for us, right? We're living in a society where we need to work, to pay rent, to pay gas, to pay light, to do all these, other things. So we kind of tend to put our thoughts, our focus into this more than anything else. This is what we do, right? So we spend less time to understand what's really going on, right? With our history, with who we are as a people. It's very difficult to kind of grasp it now, because we're focused more every day. Like, oh, well, this weekend you want to relax, unwind with your friends, probably hang out, do whatever you do, but you're looking forward to next week or the other week or the other working day, so you can go right back on the plantation. Greetings, and welcome. So this is what it is. We're more focused on surviving, that we pay a little attention to what's happening right around us. Greetings and blessings to you all for coming in. So that's what's happening. So we tend to overlook the things that are truthful, the things that are right. We tend to overlook it. We're not paying attention to these things. They're not even within certain words that we used, right? It's confusing because we don't attach these words properly, even though you have learned them in school, right? We are great and welcome. And how are you doing, Neville? Much love and respect to you and welcome. So we have learned these things in school, how to pronounce the meanings of words, yet we still, we're just not they're not utilized within our daily conversation, so they become absent from our minds, right? And we tend to hear other people say things and take what they say as face value. We don't do not many, not much, what you'd say, analyzing what they say. We don't analyze what they're saying. We just, okay, yeah, you said that, and because our daily life, we're living every day, it occupies a lot of our time doing other things. If things are not really life-threatening or important to a certain degree, then okay, whatever. This is why we're misinformed a lot of times. This is why we don't know. Bless you, my brother. Welcome. This is why we don't, we're not in tune with what's happening in our society. And when someone who separate themselves and come out and they are more in tune, it seems abnormal to the average person. The average person look at that person like, what? He's crazy. And not only that, then you have other people within the society who knows the truth and who have the authority, right, to taint this person's reputation, will come out and say things on a public platform that, the other person don't have the ability to go on, and they will say, oh, he's crazy. And that's the first thing they use, that you're crazy and you don't know what you're talking about, and all these other things to discredit you. But they know the truth. These people that are saying that you're crazy, they know that you're not. But guess what? They don't want you, right, to disrupt their lies. They've been teaching you all these lies and deceiving you for so many years, right? You don't know. You don't even know the history that took place here. And let me just give you a small briefing on the history that is missed out. So much is a huge chunk of history that you don't know. You don't know it. You think you do, because this is what they kind of control the way they teach you things. And it's in a certain format, right? And this format, right, you can't go outside of it, right? You have to stay within the parameters, right? So this format, you stay within the parameters. This is it. Everything exists within this small thing that they tell you. It's a programming. So, like a robot, you can't go beyond the master's thinking, right? You have to, whatever the master's put inside your programming, software, whatever, this is how you have to function. It's limited, right? So, you're limited because you're not using your full capacity to think for yourself. You're bringing yourself to understand what someone is saying to you or someone taught you. You bring yourself to learn because they tell you that this is important. And because it's important, if you thought otherwise, right, this is not going along with society, right? So you can come with your own ideas. These are established ideas by people who want to have you controlled, who want to have you thinking a certain way. So you have to think a certain way. So this information is formatted just for you, right? And you learn this, and this is how you think. When someone else tells you something else outside, it's a conflict now. What? It's impossible, right? It's impossible because this is what they showed you. The imagery that they painted is to represent themselves. They wouldn't do otherwise. Why would they put a black image, right, of the greatest people? Why would they do that? Of the greatest empire, the greatest king. They won't teach you that. They don't care about your history, how great your people were. That's not their interest. Their interest is to show how great they are to their people, right? And if they have to claim your history to do so, then that's what they're going to do. And that's exactly what's happening today. This is exactly what's happening today when it comes to history that you don't know. Now, when we read the Bible and we go all the way back and we're talking about the Romans, the Grecians, the Persians, the Mesopotamia, all of these places that we're talking about, these civilizations, right? The Greeks, who were they before, right? The Persians, who were they before, right? And all these things. And this is where we get misled because we don't know. We're going off the modern narrative that these people constructed and said, this is, the Greeks are white because white people are living there. The place or the geographical area that they said it was Greece. White people now occupy this area, right? So that means the Greek or the ancient Greeks are white. Because we don't think about these things in the moment. We read it, we've learned it, we have never thought about that. Now, when you come to the Americas, who were in the Americas before the people that claim to be American today? They were someone here, right? Who were they? They weren't Europeans, right? They were never Europeans, right? But European claims that they're Americans. So just imagine if there was a reference point to go to figure out, okay, so we're trying to find who the people are. Even though they tell you, for example, a place that they didn't tell you that there were people like this existed there. Just imagine now you within this time learning about the Greeks, and they didn't tell you that people lived in Greek before these European people came there. You would believe in this time, modern time, that, well, you know what? The people that are living there, been there for thousands of years, untouched, never changed, was the same people, right? So when you're referencing in history, what you're going to look at is the people that depicted within the pages that represent the people that live actually in these areas. You will think those are the people. You think America, when you hear about America, you're looking at, okay, we know there's diversity for some reason because there were slaves here. So we think about diversity and other people who came over on their own for opportunity. So you look at the face of America, but beyond that, you still know that this is a white country, right? Blessings to everyone. And this is where we have been misled because we have led to believe this. Now, when they show you Adam and Eve, they will show you a depiction of two white persons, right? But it doesn't mean much to you at the moment, right? You think it's all good, and you'll even teach your kids about Adam and Eve. And even because these images is imprinted on your children's mind, if they go out in the street and saw this particular image, what they're going to associate with it? How do they associate with this image? If they're telling someone, oh, look, that's Mary, right? It becomes a part of the programming within their thoughts. Now they could, by seeing it, right? They recognize that, oh, this is Mary. I've learned this. This is who Mary is. This is what the imagery has done to them. They believe this. So when you're presenting these things, it's a way of controlling how a person think, right? And the information that they're stored inside, that when they go inside, right, the reserve, right, for information, this is what's going to come out. The lies that's been programmed inside of you. So you will be taking all of the information that you have. You cannot go anywhere else. You'll be using from the lies, the deception. You'll be taking information from that. How do you confirm anything else outside of that? It's difficult to do. Very, very difficult to do. Yes, people need to understand, but it's difficult for them. So now if they show you Adam and Eve, that they both are white, then okay, fine. But how do you explain, right, that the dark race of people, the melanated people, how did they come about? So there's another Eve and Adam. There's two groups of people. No, there's not. But evidence supports, right, that the dark people or the melanated people produce the people that you see today who call themselves white. They came from them, right? So then who is the first people then? According to the text, it's a lie. It's a deception to deceive you according to what they've written, what's been written by them, and the imagery that they're showing you. It's a lie. It's a complete and blatant lie right in front of your face, right? It's right there. You don't know it because you never thought about this, right? So to say that Adam and Eve is white, and then within this modern time that we're living, today's topic is how to identify the Hebrews today. So this is where I'm just trying to go into some things, give you guys an understanding of what's happening. So when we begin to explain everything, it makes sense. Right? So when they teach you these things and you believe that, right, there's no other way to go. The reference points that you're going to set up by them, their information, right, their lies, their deceit, everything is set up there. So you'll be going in that pool, right, to take whatever information they put in there to represent what they're trying to say or what they lied about, right? So it's a huge thing to understand. So, but if today in modern times, as I was saying, we're able to see this with our own eyes, that a black person can produce a white person, and we have never seen two white person produce a black person, then it shows you who the original people are, right? It's very simple. They want to tell you, and this is why you have what's his name? This scientist, he's not important. Maybe that's why I can't recall his name right now. But yeah, Darwin, right? So Darwinism is what kind of solidify, that type of thinking in white people, in European people, led them to believe that the African person is less than not. And these are all men, right? Men then later on influence the woman, become influenced by the same thing. These are men who felt inferior among, the blacks, and inferior, right, by the achievements that these people had. They didn't like that. So Darwin went out, we call it racist science, right? And he tried to discredit the black people. And we're talking about from Egypt to that. They know who the Egyptians are from the time they went there, right? And they tried to discredit them, saying they're inferior, they're 3/5 of a human being, they're not, they're not civilized enough, they're incapable of doing all these things. When, if we go back into history, we know that the Moors that went into Spain, right? And these people who civilized the first European civilization was, in fact, Spain. And it was because the Moors went there and ruled it for 800 years, right? They went there, these Moors, these black Moors, and they know this in Europe, yet they wipe the history away because it's not important. When outside of Europe, right, there's a country that promotes, right, racism, a country that hates black people, right, and paint a negative image of them. This continues, right? So everybody is in support. You have to be in support. This is why they tried, with the European Union and we are allied and all these things are important for them because no, you have to go with what we're saying. If you're not, then we're going to cut you off. We're going to embargo you. We're going to stop trade. We're going to stop. So everybody has to go along with the program, with the lies. Everybody has to go with these lies. It's very important to know yourself, man. So when we go back into history and the ancient history, we understand, right, that the ancient, if the people, the two persons that were created first on the planet was melanated people. And it's very simple to understand why people of melanin, people who are melanated existed within this ecosystem. It's important to know that because the sun, the hottest element in this universe, right, we're able to resonate with it. Why? Because we have melanin. Why the other group of people cannot and they have to hide from the sun and stay in caves and all these other, because the sun doesn't agree with them. Now, the Most High, the most intelligent of all intellectuals that you may know, right? He has created human beings, right, in this ecosystem. And for them to survive here, you have to have all the mechanism to function underneath the hottest element that exists. There's no way you would have created anyone who cannot function. Pay attention very carefully. The ants, that is very small, as small as the ants is. Think about when you're outside in the summertime and it's 90 degrees out there, right? The road, steam or heat is coming up out of the earth, right? And the ants is right there crawling around. Nothing happened to him. The bird, that is much smaller than you, right, survived in this heat, right? Because all of them has melanin in their body, right? Something that protects them so the sun doesn't affect their skin. It doesn't affect them, right? They could fly around. They could be in the desert. The lizard could crawl around in the desert on its stomach. This is what's happening. The Most High created people out of his intellectual consciousness that would have survived within an ecological system that he manufactured for them to survive in, not for another species that cannot survive. Now we understand that for a person to have melanin, that they could lose this melanin, right? You can have it, you can lose it. When you have a child, you can give less, you can give more, because you have it to give. Two persons of European descent cannot produce a black child. Why? They don't have melanin to give, right? Or to take. There is none there, so a child, they couldn't produce a child with that. But our melanated women are able to produce a child with melanin or without melanin. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So if the first human being that existed started technology and started everything, you must understand who they are before that. So when we talk about the Greek, the beginning of the Roman army, all these people are melanated people. They tend to put Africans, or the people within the land of Africa that they call, they're not the same people. They're different groups. The Ethiopians are different, the Sudanese, they're different groups of people. We're talking about the Pygmies, we're talking about the Dinkas, we're talking about everybody. So when we go to Africa, we're talking the beginning, right? The cradle of civilization. Let's talk about it. We're talking about from the shortest of persons to the tallest, different phenotypes. We're talking about bone structures, facial, everything. They're the face of everyone. Asian people, if you're going to Africa, you're going to see people looking like Asian people. If you're going to Africa, you're going to see people with blue eyes, not just reserved to Europe, but I'm telling you, because their eyes are brown, right, with melanin, they could lose that melanin and the eyes adapt other colors. So it's very simple to understand this, right? So everyone and all the race of people that you know today, you must understand where they came from. Why Europe is mentioned? Because the people, all of them that look like this, and I'm talking about the Hispanics, I'm talking about the so-called people that claim to be Arab who live in the middle, all those people came from that era. All of them was there, you understand, before they migrated back this way. You understand? And we're going to get into all of these things. And when you begin to understand, you're going to know who the people are. It's the beginning of the Roman army, black Grecians, black Persian, black Babylonian, black, all of them were not the same people. They fought against each other the same way. Like you have Koreans, you have Japanese, you have Chinese. They look like alike, right? They look alike, but they are not the same people. They're of the same stock, right? But they're different and they practice different cultures, right? So they're not the same. We talk about Philippines, Indonesia, and all of these other places. They have this type of look, but are they the same? No. They tend to put Africans together as if we're the same. We're not. We're different nations of people. So the pygmy, which is the shortest, because they have melanin. The reason why all these people live within this area and are different nations of people living there, we have melanin because you need melanin to survive in the hottest place on the planet. You have to have that or you can't survive there. You get what I'm saying? This is why the constant worry about global warming. Because when this happens, people who don't have the melanin in their skin, you understand me? They're going to be at risk. They will be at risk. So we have to pay attention to that. Please bear with me for a second. And there are some questions coming in that I'm going to answer. So this is what we have to understand. So there's the chunk of history that disappeared, right? And this history, how important it is for us to know so we could understand what's happening. So not because the people in what you call Italy live there today mean they're the indigenous people of that land. No, they're not. Not because the people who live in Greek today means that they're the indigenous. No, they're not. All this area and these islands outside of the landmass that you call Africa today, all that populated area was melanated people from different nations within in the land. Africa is a continent, right? Consists of many different areas that people call country within that continent, right? So we're not the same people. We share the same complexion, but we are different when it comes to language and culture. And in Africa, you have the most dialect. In Africa, go there yourself. The most language that you're going to find anywhere else is Africa. Second, India. We're going to get to India in a while and say. So I want you guys to understand. So when we go back to history and talk about the beginning, who we're talking about, the people we're talking about, and not all of us are responsible because, as I said, we're different. We share the same, we look alike, we have the same complexion, but we are different people. We're different nations. We're different tribes of people. We're not the same people. And we don't love or have the same love for every person. But because the term black was used against the Hebrew Israelites, right? Bible says, and in Deuteronomy 28, and let me just pull that because I want you guys to get it, what I'm talking about, right? So when we talk about it shall be a byword, right? I'm talking about Deuteronomy 28 through 68, right? You shall be an astonishment to all people. You shall be called a byword. And this byword was placed on the Hebrew Israelites during the time when they were kidnapped or captured and they were led into other nations. They didn't exchange. It wasn't a greet and meet, right? And this is the problem with this word, what you hear called nigger today. And that we use this word and a lot of us take it for an insult, right? We take it as an insult. We're talking about the word that was placed upon the Hebrew Israelite. They would be the one who bear, right, this byword. So we know it's a name that doesn't represent them. They were just called that. And because they were on the west coast, fleeing from their home to the west coast of Africa, we're talking about the Hebrew Israelites. And they are the people within this land today, in this earth today, that are called by a byword. They didn't call by their name, nation. So we're talking about black. They are the nations within the land, which are the Ethiopians, the Sudanese, and other groups of people who live there, right? Don't see themselves as that, right? So we continue to use it because it becomes common and it becomes, what you'd say, famous among our people. So everybody use it as, okay, nigger, black, whatever, right? We use this. You understand? So we use this term, black, but it was bestowed upon us. So when the intruders came in to kidnap and to take these people out of their homes, right? You must understand that they didn't say, hello, what's your name? My name is Jumal. What's your name? I'm Ababuka or whatever. No, there was no introduction, right? There was men came in with weapons and swords and they were taking people out. And the only way for them to understand who they were dealing with, because they weren't black, right? And we're talking about the Spaniards, right? Spanish, right? Spain. Those were the people who first went and took people out there, right? So they call them El Negro. You know what Negro is in the language of Spanish, right? That's where the word derives from. And it later on passed down into the Americas, and these new Englishmen who came from England, because you know all these members are from England, different parts of Europe, begin, you have the accent with the word where it said niggle, from Negro with rolling the tongue to nigger to what it is today. And this is the issue with what we're talking about. So when you hear the byword, the people that bear this byword are who the Hebrew Israelites are. They've been called Negroes. They are an astonishment to all people. They've been hated by other groups of people for reasons unknown, right? So we know who the people are. Do you understand? So it wasn't a meet and greet, my people. It was for us as Europeans, for example, to know what we're talking about. We say Negro, the blacks. So they call them blacks, right? That's what they call them. And this was a way of how we identify a word black. It wasn't, it was Jerome, it was Peter, it was Martin, we weren't called by our name. It wasn't an introduction when they meet. It was total subjugation, and people were fleeing for their lives. People got dying in the process. So it wasn't that how we think about it, right? And what the word did as it becomes a word to identify who the slaves were, right? Before they were sold to other groups, European people and other whoever involved in slavery at the time, they would have used the word black, right? Who were selling slave to the Americans or to other group of people. Oh, we call them the blacks, right? And that's what it was till it becomes nigger. Negro becomes nigger till what it is today, and it has a racial thing to it now, right? That people feel like they're disrespected if, So that's what I want to say. So you guys understood, right? That the people that bear the word, right? The byword, the nation, there's a nation of people that is called a byword. This is important when you read Deuteronomy 28 through 68, right? To learn who the Hebrew Israelites are today. They're called that, right? A byword, not a nation of people anymore. A black is a color. It's not a nation of people. You understand me? And Africa is not the name of the continent. That this was named after a European person again. You understand? Just like the Americas, right? So that's not the name of the continent. And Ethiopia is a Greek name. That's not the name of the land either. You understand? So we're talking about ancient Kush, according to the scriptures, which is they call modern day Ethiopia. And we're talking about Kemet, right? Which they call Egypt today. And we talk about Put, which is upper and lower, right? Which is brothers. These are when we talk about Canaan, right? These four people that were mentioned in the book were after the flood of Noah, right? Okay, so let me answer some questions before I get deeper into this thing here. Okay, so if they want to position for themselves, why it's necessary to wipe others? Well, let me see if I understand what you're saying. So if they want the position for themselves, well, people with negative intentions or people who are bad will only do bad things. You understand? Now, we're talking about the fact that even other groups of people are labeled today as black is because by default, right? Because it's been the people of the book been called this, and everybody that looks like them now call this, right? So they suffer in some way, face racism and racial profiling in some ways because the people that were called a byword, right, resemble these other groups of people, right? So then they it's like, okay, well, I don't know, like you'd say a Chinese person and you'd call a Chinese person a Japanese, what would be the difference, right? Whatever you call him because they look alike, right? So you'd say all of them is the same, but they're not really. Hello, everyone. So glad to finally catch one of these live stream. I've been playing the series since I came across the channel a few words. Thank you so much, Tim, for helping, supporting. Okay, at least you need to have something first. Well, but there's a lot to have. You know, people who envy other people and want to take control. As I said, I speak about low inferiority complex. The reason why I speak about this is because there are groups of people who came out of the original people who envied that they don't look like the original people. And because of this, they want to hide themselves or their origin. It's a problem when you understand the origin of these people. And how would you live with it knowing that this is why you're here? This is how you come about. You understand what I'm saying? This is their problem. The inferiority complex have them thinking a certain way about themselves and not satisfied with who they are. They need to claim everything around them to say they are this, they are that. Pay attention to what they do and how they do things here. We're talking about the pattern office. Everything they come up with word and says this man and the Greek one and this, and they name and label everything to have control of it, to say they are the one. These are people who are hungry for history, who are hungry to have something to say that we did this. You understand what I'm saying? Persons who already been doing things there's no need to do this. We already know. And people who are honest in giving credit, there's no need to think about, because if people are living honest, you'd know that, oh yeah, he gave me a cup of water. But to say that, oh, this cup of water saved 1,000 people. Now someone wants to say, well, maybe if I could say I would want to be praised. They want to be praised. They want to be worshipped. I'm the one who give the water. And it would be a debate and a fight to say who give the water to save these 1,000 people. All right. So it's very important how we learn what about history, and what's been taught to us by these people are not actually accurate, and you have to go back again to learn. Then why people keep saying we are one? Everyone will say that we are one, but we're not one. You know that, and I know that. You can't be one. How could multiple people with different thinking and mindset be one? As far as the way we think, as far as complexion, you know what I'm saying? We're not one. And we'll never be one. The fact that we have different language already, give you answer your question, right? The fact that we have language, it tells you that we're not one. If we were, we would have all speak the same language. The people that speak the same language, they are one with each other. People that came from the same stock, who are ethnically connected, genetically, are the same people. But these are terms that we would use when, we try to attach ourselves to the Bible or attach ourselves to the words in the book. We would say, well, we're all one. God created us all. Yes, God created us all. Yes, we all work for the company. Yes, but there's a manager that we're chosen, or someone that we're chosen to manage the company. We all cannot be the manager, right? Do we hate the manager because the boss found that this person was qualified enough to manage the company? No. We go along with the program because you're getting paid. Everybody survives. So everybody hold their position. Now, this concept cannot be used among people outside of a company. This is the problem. This is where I said the low inferiority complex comes in. Now, you can't understand because God has chosen someone. Everyone begin to hate this, the idea of it. Why? And this is in modern times. But in ancient time, everybody knew who the Hebrew Israelites were. Nobody had a problem with it. They knew, okay, that those are the Israelites. And they were doing their thing. The Israelites doing their thing. They were serving their wood and stone or whatever God they worship. The Israelites were doing that. Nobody had a problem until when the Israelites transgressed and were led away into different nations. This is when they decided to claim that history, saying that, now it's them. Now, this replacement theology begins. So it's no longer different, right? That people would claim this idea that we're all one, right? So even when you go back to the scriptures and we talk about John 3:16, right? And they will tell you this. Christians love to use this phrase. Oh, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. Right? And they'll use this and they said, we're all, there's no faith anymore, right? Just believe. Just think of something and believe in this. And I'm saying this because it's Jesus they're talking about. Jesus has nothing to do with the Messiah, but they're talking about Jesus, right? And that they will be saved by him and he came to save them. But it seems like we're not reading the same book, right? It seems like we're not reading the same book that they get these ideas from. It seems we're all not reading the same book. We read it, but we don't understand what it's saying, right? Then the book says, I shall raise up a horn in David to save his people, right? Who they were talking about? They were talking about the Messiah that was going to come to save who? Israel, right? When he came, what did he say again? He said, I came but for the last sheep of the house of Israel. This is what he said out of his mouth. Now, unless he's a liar, right? And he no longer, live by his righteousness anymore. He say anything and then he came back it up later on. He said, I come but for the last sheep of the house of Israel. For the nation of Israel. That's who he came for. He didn't come for anybody else. So even when the woman went to him saying that, oh, her child is sick, and they say, why should I take the children bread and give it to the dog, right? This was an insult to her. But because of her faith and believing in this verse, he said, okay, you can go, your son is healed now, right? So it's not like there's not hope for the Gentiles, right? The Most High is not going out there recruiting Gentiles. They must find themselves because they're the one who continue in their wickedness. Right? But the Most High chose the people and he said, and let me just read this for you because I want you guys to understand this. Right? I want you guys to understand that when we're talking about, you understand, when we're talking about the verse Amos, so let's Amos 3 verse 1, right? You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities, right? So this is Amos 3 verse 1. You could read that for yourselves to get a clear picture of what I'm saying there, right? He was talking about the Israelites. You have I known out of all the fact that families of the earth, it means there's other groups of people. And he's distinctively saying, you have I known out of the people that existed. I know you. I have a relationship with you. So we all could talk about God, God, God. Which God are we talking about, right? Do you understand me? Which God are we talking about? You see, it's very simple when someone will say, because a brother was here last week, and we're talking about Islam as well. He said Islam is a good, peaceful religion, and whatever he was saying, and how many billion followers or whatever is a part of that. And I was saying to him, it doesn't mean because there are millions of followers mean that it is right, right? So, but for people now to say that everyone is the same, yeah, and we could say this, we believe in one God, but which God are we talking about? We all could say this, right? Let's just think about this for a second. Let me just give you something just to think about, right? The Israelites have a relationship with God, so they know him, right? They could call him by any name. Correct? And let me prove this to you. Your friend, right? They could call you a nickname, right? And you'll know. Not one of your friends. Those who you associate yourselves with and that you call friends or familiar with you. One friend might call you Darren or Lele, and the other one call you Dan. And all of these people, you know them. So when you hear this name, you look around, you know that's your friend. Your friend could call you and get a response from you, right? By giving you a nickname because you are friends with them. They know you. You know them. A stranger cannot just come up to you and say, Hey, Belly calling you a name that you don't even know him, right? So it's ridiculous when people say, oh, well, God, okay, God, well, which God are you talking about? Because if you have no relationship with him, then you can't say, oh, well, God, because he didn't have a relationship with you. Amos 1, verse 3. Of all the families of the earth, you have I known. I chose you above all people that existed. There was a people that were chosen. They have a relationship with their father, with God, so they could call him names. They could call because they know him. They have a relationship with him. So the nicknames that you will use with your friends, a stranger that don't know you cannot call you by that. They won't get a response from you. Right? Very simple to think about, right? They can't get a response from you. How could someone just comes up to you and say, oh, well, Darren, that's not your name. You're not friends with this person. So what response would you give to that person? Do you understand what I'm saying? So it doesn't mean that the Most High don't know that you exist because he created you. It doesn't mean that you don't know that this person exists who approached you, right? But you and this person are not close. You're not friends with him. How could he give you a name when you don't share certain things together? Do you understand me? It's the same concept with the Most High. Israel have a relationship with him. It's broken down in the beginning. He said, I will raise a horn in David to use a save. I will send you how to go to the Israelite, the lost sheep. I mean, all of these things, the whole entire Bible, if you read it, it's talking about Israel. The giving of the law, everything, the adoption, everything goes to them. Why? Because it's their history. The book that you're reading belongs to them. It wasn't a book that was giving or information that was giving to the world as you know it today, right? It's the Romans who did this after they conquered Jerusalem. They were the one who pushed Christianity, right? With the first church, what was it? Wasn't it Rome? Right? They are the ones who pushed this, and this information that you're getting now, which you call book, Bible, ended up in the hands of many different nations, many different people, right? And they believe that they're inclusive to this. But the reality is, when you read it, it's telling you, Israel, right? How could you not think about, so why is this book talking about Israel? What happened to the other group of people? Because the book explains about the other people. Right? It explains about the other people. So we have to pay very careful attention when we're reading and we're studying the Bible. So if we go Deuteronomy 7 verse 6, when the Most High explains, said, thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. And you know what holy is, right? You have to maintain a lifestyle, right? Without error, right? Without blemish. This is what holy is, right? The Lord thy God had chosen thee to be a special people unto himself. So now he chose them to be a special people, a people unto himself. I mean, he took these people and said, okay, just like a boss, your boss, your employee would say, okay, I've seen in you that you dedicate to the company, so I'm taking you in. You come. Apart from all the employees that exist within the company, right? He would say, okay, you, because I've seen out your efforts, right? Your sacrifice that you put in this company is more than the other employees. Why I acknowledge this, I'm going to give you a position. This is all it is. The Most High said, he had chosen thee to be a special people unto himself. He's keeping these things for himself because he appreciates them, right? Above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Did you understand? All people that are upon the face of the earth, right? I have chosen you among all the people that are employed and working within this company. You I have chosen above everyone here. You are getting this position above everyone here, right? This all it is when the Most High said that, and go read it for yourself. That's Deuteronomy 7 verse 6. Verse 6 7 verse through 6. you could read it and try to get an understanding of that yourself if you need to. Why everyone thinks differently? Everybody, we all have a mind of our own, so we all think differently, right? Even your child, your children, your brother, sister, because we have this. This is the freedom that you get, right? Is for us to make choices within our own consciousness, what we think is best for us, right? But there are rules to what's right and wrong, and how we apply ourselves to that. It's based on the individuals, right? So you have to think whether or not this is what you want to do. We all could do what another person does, right? We all could say we're going to rob, we're going to kill, we're going to do all these things. We could choose this path, right? But it's up to us, right? So within the goodness within us, we always measured. This is how we measure things on the outside. Because if you're filled with goodness, then all the time you have to question your actions. Okay, because it's not in me to do wrong, then I can't do it. Right? You objectify these ideas, right? And why racism exists if we're the same? Good question. This is a question that it makes the people who push this narrative seems very ignorant and stupid, right? And I just want to say this as an example for you guys. Right? And a great question, right? And why racism exists if we, right, are all one, if we're the same people? Why does that exist? How does it, why racism exists? Because hatred and wickedness dwells in people. And people who are saying this, who racist, know that we're not the same. But they'll use this for their convenience. They will say, oh, we're one, we should do this, because they want to always have you there and have their foot on your neck, right? They want to have their foot on your neck, so you stand there, right? This is what they want. So it's convenient for them. Hey, brother, we're brothers, but we're not brothers, actually. This is how they deceive you, because they know that you have empathy. Because you're empathetic, then they could take advantage of your kindness, because they know that you're not evil and they are evil. So they use things to win your trust. Brother, my brother, we are brothers. The same Arabs in the corner store will say this to you. They don't respect you. You understand what I'm saying? They don't love you. But they tolerate you because they're benefiting from your community. Do you understand what I'm saying? So all this brother and what they talk about you behind closed door, oh my goodness. If you should hear. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand this? You cannot go into the Middle East and open a corner store and get supported by these people. They will never buy anything from you. Neither can you go to China, another country, say you're opening a corner store and you're going to be successful. No. But these people can come into your neighborhood because they know your love is different from theirs. They know you will tolerate them. They hate you. But they know that you won't fight them because that's not who you are. You have empathy, something that they don't have. You understand? So why are they saying that we're one, right? And why racism exists and we're supposed to be one? It's very simple. It's very simple. We are not one. We never was. But these words are used, or these rhetorics are used when it's convenient for them, or when they see that, okay, black people are getting angry, right? We're getting angry about something, then they will come and say, oh, we're one and we're all this and we're not one. And these people who are reciting these statements already know that we're not. They know that we're not. And I want to say, even there's a problem with this movie, Cleopatra, right? In Egypt. I'm using this as an example to you, just to explain something to you clearly. So they're having a debate and they're trying to sue Netflix. I talk about this on a previous video, but I'm going to use this as a very valid point, right? And they tell you, there's a lawyer there. I don't want to mention his name, but he's saying it's not about black and white, right? Because he's saying that Egypt, right, is diverse. There's many different people there, right? And it's not about black and white. So what is it about? Now, this is how hypocritical these people are, right? Now, if it's not about black or white, what is it about? Because if you say the conglomerate, right? The people that make up Egypt is not one group of people, right? It's black and white. So why couldn't it have been that there's a black person who built the pyramid, right? Why couldn't it have been that Cleopatra is a black person, right? No, she has to be white, just like the white angels, just like white Jesus, just like white Nefertiti, white Samson, white Moses, white everything. No, she had to be that out of the group of people that exist there, which is white, black, or different shade of color, whatever it is, right? It cannot be the darker one, right? This is how this is how ignorant and how stupid these people are, right? They're telling you that it's not about race, but it's actually about that. Because then, if you said that the population is built up off of this, different people, so then why couldn't it be that? Why it have to be a representation of your complexion? Do you understand what I'm saying to you, my people? Because this is what it is. They cannot cope with the idea that it's a black person because the same hatred exists in them, right? That exists in all of them, right? These people that are living in that area, that went in the area and occupied the area, all of them are not from there. They're from Europe, from different parts of Europe. That's how they got there. Do you understand me? So they will find problem because they know the truth. And if they begin to let it out, what's going to happen? Now, you have to understand why they replaced the people in Egypt, why they replaced the people in the Middle East. Because how could the people that claim to be Jewish today, right, blended with a people that living in Egypt that is black, or blended with a people that live in the Middle East that is black? How could that be? It's impossible. So they had to replace these people. This is why England was in that area. This is why European went and divide the land there. Listen, get into your history to know what's going on. So it's just a convenience for them to say we're one at times when they know that black people are getting upset. They're afraid of our anger. So they will say, oh, we all are one. We're not one. We're different. We're not the same. The Bible already tell you that. We speak different language, already prove that we're not, right? We have different culture. We do things differently. White people don't do things that what black people do. They will emulate and copy certain things that black people does. Black people are creative, so they're always coming up with different ways of speaking, new words, all kind of different things. They're different, right? We don't do the same thing. They will go to party and do things differently. So we're not the same people. Culturally, right? We're not the same. Biologically, we're not the same. We're completely different. So we're not one, right? And this is why racism exists still. Because they know the inferior person is still waiting for retribution. They're waiting to see what's going to happen. Because what they did, you have to understand, they cannot digest this. They're not comfortable with what happened before, right? They're not comfortable at all about what took place during slavery. So they're still waiting. How could you do something so wicked to the people and there's no reaction to it? Nobody went out against you and did nothing. What do you think gonna happen? It's like, just for example, you're walking down the street, some guy just, grabbed you up and just slapped you a couple of times, right? For whatever reason. Yet you did nothing to him and you pass, the next day you pass, you see him. He saw you, right? And you see him. What do you think is happening in his mind? He's thinking, what are you going to do to him? What are you going to do? Constantly, it's going to be on his conscience, right? What is he going to do to me? You're not doing anything. It's going to bother this person for the rest of his life. Like every day you pass and you're looking at him, you pass him and you don't show no signs of anger, nothing at all. You just pass, go about your business. What do you think it's going to do to him? It's going to destroy him, right? It's going to destroy him. That's what's happening to a lot of these people. What their ancestors did, that is bearing weight on their conscience to this very day. Right? Yeah, it is one book, different understandings. an interpretation, of course. And you find this is why we have the naked truth here to talk about the real deal, right? To talk about the Bible and, how authentic this information is and what happened to the information, how much of this information has been perverted. And this is why we start talking about this here, because we want to give people a different perspective on what the Bible is or what the book is, right? Instead of believing this painted mirage that been taught to our ancestors for years. We follow these things without questioning. And sometimes I don't understand, right? Descendants of slaves, I'm talking to you. If your ancestors went through all those atrocities, right? That they have gone through throughout these years, right? And you are descendants of them. Yet you embrace the people, the very descendants of the people who enslaved your ancestors. And for the fact that you did that, because when integration begins, they didn't say, let's start together, right? And let's divide these things together and we work together as you, white and black. And this was never the case, right? It means that you're still a subject here. It means that you're still a slave here, right? If this didn't happen, how could you lean to the understanding of these people? How could you lean to the teachings of these people and believe everything they tell you? You are fool to think so, that they would have educated you and tell you the things that you claim that you will hear someone say, right? And tell you about your history. They're not going to teach you that. You won't learn that from them. Believe me, you would never learn your true history through them. You won't. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Why would they conceal information from you? Because it benefits them nothing to tell you this. Right? So why would they tell you? Why would they harm you with weapon against them? Doesn't make sense. This is why you've been treated this way. And until you realize yourself, this is always going to happen. You're not going to get equal opportunity as you're fighting for. How many years have you fought for that? How many years you've been fighting for this? And you still can't get it because it's never going to happen. You're dreaming this everlasting dream, a dream that will never come true. So we all read the very book, and even they read it and know the truth about the book, but they're not going to say it. So things that you'll hear me say here, they won't say it. So we're dealing with people who have principles, and we're talking about high spiritual principles, people who don't go against their words, people who say this is what it is, and it cannot be changed, right? Because we're dealing with people who know, right, things to come. People, if you know as an individual now, any of you in the comments, right, any of you who knows that tomorrow you're going to die at 6 o'clock if you go around a certain corner, would you go there? How could you make mistakes? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? A person that have this type of perception, it's impossible for them to make mistake. It means that you know when this will end, when this won't. If I go there, I'll avoid this and this. You cannot make mistake. This is why the Most High said, for one of my word pass, heaven and earth shall pass away. He's telling you that it's impossible for him to lie or to make a mistake in what he's saying. So everything that he says is the way that it is. Anything else you hear or read in this book that contradicts what was said before, it means that someone is trying to change the information there. Do you understand? Someone is not satisfied with the information and try to change it to fit their narrative. This is why you have to pay attention when you read. So we all read, yes, and everybody have a different interpretation of what it is. Why? It's because when you go in this book and reading it, right, you cannot go with a belief system. And many people, before they open this Bible, they'll tell you, that Christianity is something that they thought about. When they're going into Islam, Islam is something that they thought about. And because of this, they're looking for confirmation and proof. So they'll open the book and they'll cherry pick certain things, right, to prove that. Even, as I said, John 3:16, We talk about John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only, that whosoever, right? So now whosoever, what does this mean? Does whosoever means the whole entire earth that he was talking to? No. But see, people take this out of context. Why? Now, if we read the Bible to get the proper meaning, definition of what was said, right? We go to the Bible and read it, right? Now, the Bible is talking about who? Who is the Bible talking about? When you've read it yourself, who is it mentioned? Who name is mentioned over and over and over through all the pages? Israel. So, who is the whosoever that you were talking about? Now, there was not. He wasn't on the 6 o'clock news, right? Right, broadcasting on the 6 o'clock news to every nation that has television in their homes. No, he was in the land of his where he came from was Israel, Jerusalem. That's where he was, and he was talking and addressing the people within the area that he was talking to. Whosoever is there among him, that's who he was talking about. That's who the whosoever. Now, when you read this outside, when this history doesn't belong to you, and you're reading it, you think that you're inclusive to the whosoever, but you're not. It's not about you. It was talking to the people, the Israelites, right, who were there in his presence when he was making his speech or was talking whatever he was saying to them. So the whosoever was pertaining to the people that were there. Just like in England, if the England president is talking to the people in England, who is he addressing? Is he addressing people in America? No. He's talking about the people that live there, right? Under his constituency, right? Within his country. He's talking to the whosoever. He's talking about the citizens of his country. When the Messiah says whosoever, he's not talking about the population of the world. But because we associate the word God with the Messiah, people now begin to think that God will be talking to everyone. But then the Bible said, I've chose you, right, above all people, of all the families of the earth, you have I known, right? So now we understand, right, that the Most High is telling you this. And if one of his word pass, it means that heaven and earth will what? Passed away. And heaven and earth still exist because we exist today. So there's no lie in his word, what he says, right? We know this because we still exist. So before his word pass, heaven and earth shall pass. So what he says is the truth. He's telling us the truth. The contradiction behind that is to change what was said and pervert the words of the scrolls. You can't do that because we know. We know what the truth is. Our spirit bear witness to the truth. All the Israelites, their spirit bear witness to the truth. Those who don't want to know who are those who got caught up within the system, within the society, and believe that the only way out is through academia, and academia is a tool that is used, you understand me, to prevent an individual from reaching their full capacity, right? But you cannot think because you have a program, a recipe that you have to learn, a recipe that they said this, you learn this, and it makes you conduct yourself a certain way, right? You go to school because this is what your parents told you. This is a part of it, the program. You have to go to school. You can't become somebody. They tell you you have to be somebody. What? You mean I wasn't nobody before and I can't be nobody unless I partake in academia, go to school, this is how. And then they'll tell you all kind of crazy stuff, you know, early to bed, early to rise, make a man healthy, wealthy, and wise, and all of these nonsense. Everything pertaining to finance and money and monetary gain has nothing to do with the Creator, right? But they will tell you this. They insist on forcing these information on us. So when you learn this, it's a part of a program that have you in a certain mind frame that you can't get out of it. It's difficult for you to get out of this thinking because you were programmed from you were young, right? Because you grew up, your parents eat chicken, so you ate chicken. The only reason why you wouldn't eat chicken unless you're allergic to chicken, then you would stop yourself from eating it. But everything that your parents consume, you'll consume unless you learn later on that there's something about it that doesn't, resonate with you, then you stop. But otherwise, everything that you saw them did, you did it, right? without questioning anything. They fed you this when you were younger, right? So this format, this recipe have you in a frame of mind, right? That you cannot go outside of it. You're locked in. You can't, you can't be in tune with your creativeness, with your true creative ability. You can't even find it because everything you do now, right, is based on the information that were placed within you. And you have to take this information to define yourself. Okay, what can I become? So you go into school because you want to become a what? A doctor. The idea of a doctor within the modern society. The idea of a scientist within the modern society. The idea of an engineer within the modern society, right? So whatever these people put in place within the program, you have to select one of those, not your own idea. One of these things is going to give you benefits, right? And you can live and survive, become a part of this society. Help to support and maintain this society. That's basically it. There's nothing else. You can't think for yourself. You're thinking, right, using the information that were placed within you, right? It's very complicated if you don't understand this. So when you think you know everything, you don't really know what's going on, do you? You don't. Now you have a lot of people out there who will come and they'll have different platforms that they're talking about things, and they're misleading people, giving them information that they don't know anything about. You can't tell me because you went to college and you learn History 101, it means that you're well-rounded in history. You know nothing that is happening because this history was, how did it get in the institution in the first place? Who placed this history there in these institutions, right? So we have to deal with reality, right? We have to deal with common sense, right? This is how we are going to untangle, right, these knots. This is how we're going to do it. Not by following the pattern that was laid out by someone to follow, but by you growing up in your home, right, questioning your parents and ancestors about the condition, what's happening within the present moment. You're able to fix things. You're able to change things. If you don't do that, how are you going to do it? What can you change? You understand? So we've read the book and we all have a different interpretation and understanding of what it is, right? Because we're taking things to support what we already believe. So you're going to find problems with people, and then this culture doesn't resonate with other people because it's not your culture. So when you read it, because it's the foundation of what you already believe, when you read this, you're looking for clues, you're looking for proof to support and reinforce, right, your belief within this religion or whatever it is, right? This is what you're looking for when you open this. So you're opening this not because you're looking for truth, to confirm what you think or what you were taught by someone. This is why a lot of people read this. They didn't take it up on their own. I need to find the creator. And since they're saying this is the manual, let me read this. You understand me? It's very ignorant for someone to take a book or a manual trying to learn how to operate something, right? And all the functionalities on this instrument, right? It's written within the manual, and you have to just read the manual to understand how it functions, right? You can't just think out of yourself that this is what it is, right? And you don't know, right? So if you never operate something before, how are you going to operate this? And you didn't do it before. You have to learn how to operate it, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Not going with your own ideas about it. You're going to learn to understand something and to find shortcuts and to find different things. You understand what I'm saying? That's what you do. So many people will read this for the fact that, well, I'm a Christian first, because Christianity, right, is something that's, right, been forced upon the slaves. So I'm a Christian. I'm going to be saved, born again, all this nonsense, born again and all this crap that they tell you in this religion. It was used because the Israelites, they wanted them to convert to this religion. The Hebrew Israelite, all of them that were living in Spain and in Portugal at the time, They wanted them to convert to Christianity, and they make it there. Talk about the Inquisition, the Knights of the Temple, and the secret organization who went out hunting for the Israelites and to retrieve the information, whatever information they have, right, to get it back, to make sure that they have a control over these people. They know, they studied the information. They know that it's valuable to these people if it's revealed to them what can happen to them. But the Most High said he's going to save Israel and destroy their enemy. You think that the enemy don't know that? They know what's going to happen in the last days. Now, what happened in Egypt? He said, I shall stretch my hand a second time. The second time, the first time he did it was in ancient Kemet. The second time he said he's going to regather his people, and he said, where's Judah? He said, Judah is scattered at the four corners of the earth, right? In the western and northern, and on the isles, right? The isles of the sea. No, the isles of the sea, we're talking about the islands of the sea. They are on the islands as well. So we're talking about Barbados, Bermuda, all of these other places, all of these islands that you know, Haiti and all of these places, their people, his people is dispersed, are there. And when he come to gather them, he said he's going to gather them a second time. And he's going to bring destruction to whoever and wherever he goes and find his people, right, in the possession of these people. Then he's going to destroy them just like he did to the people in ancient Kemet. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So when we're reading this book, there's not much interest that people have because, one, they'll tell you, Christianity will tell you about salvation, and majority of people who become Christians are looking for a safe haven, a place to escape, right, from what they call sin and what they call death, right? They don't want to die, actually die. I'm talking about actually, even they talk about ever. This is why they use this phrase, right? You know, everlasting life, right? And living forever, because they don't want to give up the physical body in this earth. They wish that they could carry, but we have seen, right, with our own eyes, that they die the same. Christian die just as everybody else dies, so we are going, right? But for the fact that they preach these things as if, well, they're going to escape death and you know, they're not going to die, you know, they're going to go to the sea of heaven and live happily and have these wonderful life. No, it's not going to happen like that. It's not going to happen like that. So we have to understand, right? When we talk about the Bible and how we put our mind, you know, what we have in our mind, basically, going into this book, you can come out of it with different things, right? But there's many lies, but guess what? There's only one truth, many lies. So when you're reading, you have to read with understanding. We don't read because we're a part of some group, we're Islam or Hinduism or whatever we're reading. No. As the brother, we were talking about Islam and you know, these religions that come about after the fall of the Hebrew Israelites. This is why these religions came about. Before, everybody was doing their own thing. Everyone has their own God who they worshipped, God of stone, whoever. But then they have this information now. When they got this and compiled information, they use this, right? They use this. They use this as a tool, right, within their own culture. So we're talking about during the Nicene Council, right? A lot of things was happening. They tried to figure out, right, during the council, the Nicene Council, what? When you go in the book and they talk about the power of the Trinity, they try to understand. These are not people, right, who knows about the culture of the Hebrew Israelite. These are strangers that came in, got the information, and they're trying to analyze what it means. How could a person came here and resurrect the dead? Let the blind see, according to the scriptures, right? It's impossible. He have to be God. And these men in the Nicene Council will sit and debate what to do. And they said, we got to come up with ideas. So they said, he has to be God, right? No, they said he's the mediator. between man and God. And then he said he has to be God. And all of these different things they came with and said, okay, well, we have to say it's the Trinity. 3 in 1, 1 in 3. And then they said the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. All of these things, my brothers and sisters, is a bunch of nonsense. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So they're telling you that the Father is different from the Spirit, right? And the Spirit is a whole different entity, right? And the Father is a physical person. And the Son is a physical person. And Spirit is God. And all of them is the same God, right? It's ridiculous. Ridiculous how these people try to bring down the Creator, this great consciousness, to their level, thinking they're defining to us who God is or who the Messiah is. The Messiah is not the Creator. You can call him a God, right? We were called gods of the earth, right? Because we're higher than the lower creatures. And if the Messiah is higher than us, he can be called a God. But he's not the creator, right? And God is just a title, right? That's all it is, just a title. Not the name of the person. It's just a title. Right? That's all it is. So this is when they came with these ideas and try to put in the Bible and pervert the book and tell you all kind of crazy stuff. Right? And they tell you the Messiah came, and then Christians interpret these information incorrectly, saying that Jesus died for them. Well, maybe Jesus died for them because I don't know who this person is. But I said, many shall come saying that they're me, but are not. So many people are going to come saying that they are the Messiah and are not, and try to emulate the ideas that they are, but they're not. So we know this was going to happen. So this is part of a prophecy already. Right? And the Bible tells us about the beast and its image. What beast and which image that any of us know about within this modern society? The only image that the beast promotes. And who is the beast? The beast is a country. The beast is a country, right? Who promote this image? Who promote an image that everybody believe that this is God? Who promoted that image? The beast. So the Bible speak about all these things, the beast and its image. We tend to lack understanding when it comes to this. The beast and the image. Who is the beast and the image? What image it's talking about? The only image we know is who? The picture of Jesus, right? That's who you know. That's the only image that they have and promoted it. And they give the picture a name. So the picture can speak. Everybody think that this image is something of a deity to them. They even have it in their homes, hanged upon walls, praying in front of it. So the Bible explains this in Revelation, right? If we follow Revelation, we'll understand what it's talking about. So, my people, I'm saying this to say, the lies that's been taught to us, we have to break away from that. Deuteronomy 28 through 68. I implore you guys to go and read it. Right? The Israelites are not church-going people. They're not church-going people. Church cannot bring you salvation. Do you understand me? Cannot. The people that claim that they are the children of the Most High today, they claim that they are, right? They cannot call upon the Creator for nothing. And he would listen to them. Just like I said, he has a relationship with a group of people, or some people that became a group, right? Later on, he have a relationship with them. And if they dedicate themselves and call him, he's going to listen to them. Just like I explained to you before. Your friends can call you a nickname and call you by any name and whatever name, and you would know that, yeah, it's my friend. They call me that sometimes. I know. So you respond to them. Right? Only the Hebrew Israelites can call upon the Creator and he will listen. There is no other nation on this earth today that can do that. There is no other nation, as I've said before, that can produce prophets or priests in the earth today. None. And as dedicated and devoted as Islam and Christians are, they themselves cannot wield these abilities. These miraculous abilities that you read about in this book, where the prophets are healing people, bringing back people to life, and they cannot do this. None of them has devoted. No more religion. I mean, among the religions, you have to give it, right? Islam is the most devoted, yet they cannot wield any of these abilities either. They live and die the same. Their children sick and die the same. They cannot do it, right? The war that's been fighting in the Middle East, right, for this land over there, they can't even stop it. They cannot call the Creator, and they're praying every single day, probably 3-4 times a day. You can't do that. Who are they praying to? Surely, if they are the Israelites, the Most High would have already listened to them. All the Most High said in the last days, right, said that the knowledge shall come back to them. It shall come back to their remembrance. They'll remember who they are in the land of their captivity. And once they call upon him, what he's going to do? He's going to save them. He's going to come and deliver them. What did he do when they were in the captivity in the Philistia, right? When the Philistine went against him, what did he? He sent someone, right? He sent Samson to deliver them. What Samson did? He delivered them. Do you understand what I'm saying? They are different. And because they have a relationship, they could ask for things. The Messiah didn't die for the world. He died for Israel, right? To regather them in the last days, because they would have lost their identity. They would have lost their priesthood. They would have lost everything. They wouldn't remember nothing about who they are. This is why the blood was there for them. So when they wake up in the land of their captivity, all they have to do is call upon the Most High, love the Most High with all their hearts, mind, and soul, and he will come to get them. This is why the blood is there. It's not for the world. They cannot be saved by this. Only the dispersed, only the lost sheep can be saved by the blood of the Messiah. There is nobody else, right? So when they tell you this in Joe, everybody gonna be saved and Jesus is going. Jesus, who is Jesus? Who is this person, right? That's going to save them. Good luck. But we're talking about the Messiah. We're talking about the sheep, the shepherd that died for his people, that shed his blood for his people, right? To regather them in the last days. You understand? They're a holy people, right? Why they were called holy? Because, and why there were certain law, dietary law given to them to do certain things to maintain their holiness. They weren't supposed to do things that corrupt them, right? And if they did sin, they would have gone to the temple where the priests were, right? And they would have bring offering, and then the priests would have take that offering and atone for their sins. Shall be no evil among the people in the land of Jerusalem, right? So they would have blotted out whatever sin you commit for the day, if something went wrong or something bad happened by mistake, whatever, right? That would have been blotted out. Now, the Messiah knew what was going to happen in the last days. This is why he said, know that when Jerusalem is compassed with army, know that the desolation thereof is night, right? It means that those who are in the city should flee to the mountains. He was warning them of what was going to happen. That's why he came, because their last destruction would that mean that it would have been scattered everywhere. They would have been fleeing for their lives. I said, who in the city shall flee to the mountain? These people come to destroy you because they transgress against the Most High. This is why he came, to shed his blood, right? For them. He said, wait a while, because I will come, and then you will know when I come that we are one. I am one in you and you're one in me. So when they say that the Messiah and God and said, I am God and God is in me, and he said, we're one. How do you become one with someone? How do you become one with a person? He said, you and your wife shall become one. How do you become one with your child or your children? How do you become one? See, from a biological standpoint, people would be thinking, right? To become one with someone, you have to actually merge within that person to become one. That's not what it is, my brothers and sisters. You understand The reason why the Messiah was chosen, because he was utterly obedient. To be one with someone, you have to be obedient to the person. It means that you listen to everything the person say, right? Whatever they say to do, you do it. You have no question or objection in what they say. This is how you become one with someone, right? Because you believe in everything this person say. You believe that they will save you, so you don't need to go out to buy a gun to defend yourself. You're certain that this person will save you in the times of trouble, right? You put all your trust in him. That's what becoming one with someone is. It's not merging physically, bone to bone and flesh. It's none of that. You understand what I'm saying to you? Utter obedience. This is why the Messiah listens. He said, you listen what he said. He said, I speak nothing of myself. All I've said is what the Father said me to say. He's telling them that the Father is me, and why the Father is in him? Because he didn't depend on his own thoughts and ideas. This is why he's saying that the Father is in me, right? Because he allowed that because of his obedience. He allowed, right, the Most High to speak through him. Do all your good deeds through me, I don't care. You understand? Because I believe in you more than anything else. So I'm willing, you understand me, to be a host. I'm willing to be that. So when he said the Father is in me, they didn't understand. They're trying to, what do you mean? He says, see me and you see the Father. What is this confusion was he telling them? They didn't get it. They didn't get it. They were overthinking because they're looking for evidence, physical evidence to say, well, how could this be? But then he said, I will go a while, but I will come and I will tell you, that you're in me and I'm in you, right? So we're all connected. Why? Through righteousness and obedience, are we going to be connected with the Most High, the Messiah. All we're going to be one. He even used a phrase about the tree. We talk about the fig tree, right? The root supply nutrients to the branches, right? And for those branches who refuse to take the energy, right, shall be rotted off and fall off, right, and become wood for the fire. He was explaining to them so they could understand what he was talking about when he said one, right? The root, which the nutrients, the source, the energy, all things come from. The branches are obedient so the energy could flow through their, to their branches and leaves, producing fruits, right? Now, if they resist, it means you can't be one with the rest of the tree if you resist, right, the nutrients that's coming from the root. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? In order for you to sustain, right? In order for you to flourish, you have to allow the Most High to work through you because he already gives you life. And if you're obedient to him, you're allowing him. This is why the prophets were able to say things and do things. Because it's the Most High in them that did it, right? It's the greater consciousness outside, right? That were able to perform these miracles. These men were able. He said, listen, I don't put words in you. When the time is right, I will put them. I will give you a mouth to speak. Why is he saying these things? He's going to give you a mouth that you can speak. Things are going to come out of you that you didn't thought would have. You understand? And this is what it is. So the Most High, he knows his people. The Messiah, he knows his brothers and sisters. He knew what he had to do to sacrifice for them. Because how could they be gathered again? How? It's impossible to gather them. When they were in ancient Kemet, they already had their culture. They already had their God. They know who their God was. They knew everything. There were priests there, right? There were prophets among them, right? They had everything. They didn't lose nothing. But in the last days, he said they'll be discontinued from their heritage. When you discontinue from something, it means that what you used to be before, you're no longer. You have no idea of this. This is why they're called lost sheep. They don't know where their shepherd is. Who's going to lead them back? But the Messiah said, I know my sheep and they know my voice. Right? He's telling them that once I say something, they will be running back to me because we know his voice. It's just like, a dog or a cat. If you are the master for that animal, he knows you. He's familiar with you. So when he hear you coming or hear your voice, he'll be running to you, right? It's the same thing. The sheep will know the shepherd and know who their shepherd is. The Messiah will come and deliver his people once again the second time. And when he do, the enemies of his people will be destroyed. Now, this is what they're not going to teach you in the churches. They won't tell you this because everybody think we have this, it's just love. God is love and he's amazing and he can love everyone. This is what they're teaching you, right? So you dismiss the idea of living and governing yourself by the commandments. Oh no, God loves everybody. But that's not what the Bible says, right? And if he did love everyone, why did he make a choice between the people? Common sense, right? Why did he make a choice? Why did he separate and said, you of all the families of the earth I've known you. So when you commit something wrong, you're going to pay for it. I'm going to send you away. Did he send the other nations into captivity? No. Which nation did he send into captivity to be punished? The people that he had an agreement with. The people that he had a covenant with. We're not all the people. We're different. We're not the same. But society today make us feel like we're all inclusive, and that's not so. And no, I'm not saying that a person cannot find goodness, because the Bible has said it time and time again. You can sojourn among them. If you want to find truth, it's not somebody bringing you to find it. You have to find that. The Most High is not going to recruit anyone to become something as they teach you in the churches. Oh, God don't want you to sin. Oh, really? He wants you to come and to be... No. All of those things are lies, right? The Most High is not recruiting anyone. The Israelites have never went out in the Gentiles, among the Gentiles, to recruit them to become nothing. Because the Israelites is a nation of people. They're different from the other nation of people, right? You can bring someone in your household to live, follow your rules in your house, abide by your rules, and as long as they do it, they can live there. They're not your family. You will know that they're strangers. Your children will know that they're strangers, right? But if they're following the rules, what can you do, right? They're abiding by the rules, so it's only good. Okay, you're living by the rules, so the Bible says you can sojourn, you can live there among them. But there's restrictions you living there. We said the temple, the holy places, you cannot go because you're not a part of the family. You're a stranger. Just like you go into someone's house, you go to the entertainment area and the room that they give you. You can't go into the other people in the room because they didn't invite you in there. So you can't go in their room, and certain things that apply for the family cannot apply to you, right? So it's very simple, my brothers and sisters. When we begin to open up our mind, our hearts and soul and begin to absorb the truth, right? And not what we have been taught or indoctrinated with by our parents. They inherited lies and they passed the lies down to us. We carry this proudly without doing any form of investigation, right? We just go along with it. Oh, whatever, it is true. It has to be. And, you hear a lot of people, oh, Jesus and Jesus saved them and Jesus this. And when did Jesus save any of you? Nothing has gotten better since this idea of this Jesus. What has gotten better for you? Nothing. You died in the street. You got killed, you got robbed, you got raped. Everything bad happened to you the same way. Your church sister sick, and you can't even pray for her to revive her of her illness. She died the same way. Your Jesus that you're believing and you claim that he's miraculous and did so many things for you, he never saved anyone. He never saved anyone. None of these churches have you known, if I known, you and any of you in the comments known, that has redeemed anyone from their sins. that have restored a person that is broken, right? That have given sight to someone that lost their sight. You have never seen this. Why? Because the idea of Christianity is completely wrong. This has nothing to do with the Creator himself. It has nothing to do with the Creator. This is a wedge, right, that they drove between the Israelites and their God. That's what Christianity is. Forcing the descendants of slaves to convert. Forcing the Hebrew Israelites who were cast out among the nation to convert and become paganistic worshippers. That's all it is. There is nothing happening. It hasn't been anything else. You go to church, you said you baptize and all of these nonsense, everything that is, they've read this book and they pick what they want and then they said this and that. And then when you go to the church, a pastor is preaching to you, say you need to be saved. And he has the biggest car, the biggest house, the biggest diamond ring, and he's taking collection from you and say, God. But you have never seen the angels drive a Brinks truck to the church to pick up money. But all of the money belongs to God, yet it's going into your account. And you're living wealthy. And you're lying to the people. The biggest lie has been told by these pastors, preachers, whoever, theologians. They're liars. All of them are liars. They didn't open a church. Tell me one church that's not taking money from people. Name me one of them. They all started because it's profit. It's profitable for them. And we're talking about not only that. We're talking about the 501c3, right? These churches are getting paid from the government. They're working for the government. So they're helping the government. Right? They're working with the government. These are boulets. They're taking order from the king. They won't teach you the truth about nothing. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're just going in the churches to get diluted, more diluted than you already are. You think I'm lying to you? Let all the black people in America and the Caribbean decide that they don't want to deal with the church anymore and see how worried the rest of the world is going to be. You think I'm lying? Just do that for a month or 2 months, you will see. Your voice together is powerful. Your voice together can evoke, you understand me, changes. Your voice together and believe can bring about changes for the rest of the world. They lie to you. All descendants of slaves should question what you now know. You would be a fool if you didn't. You'd be a fool for those who follow this, this line, this red line, as if, oh, my ancestors, they knew what they were talking about. They were slaves. They were all slaves. What do they know? They didn't learn to read and write. These people forced them to do what? Hard labor. And teach them a certain narrative that they want them to know. What? You're going to sit there and say, well, my grandmother did. So because your grandmother ate dog or eat doo-doo, then you come and eat it. You didn't find out that, well, this is not good. You didn't question anything that your ancestors did. You are descendants. If you are descendants of slaves, then you should understand. You understand me? You should be alert. You should be suspicious of everything because the enemy is still in charge. This is a white system. Don't say that Obama made any changes. Was he a bad person, a good person? You don't know, right? Because this is a white system. And the white man would not allow for anyone to make changes to their system. Obama was an employee under this system, right? So even though they can tell you, say, oh, you were a black president, so you should feel proud. This is what you're running down. Our president is the Most High. That's our president, the Most High creator. He's our president. Wake up and find the truth within yourselves. Stop sitting down being complacent. Life has to change. This is not our life. This is not our home either, right? We live here by chance. Do you understand? You need to find yourself. Find within yourself. Right? Align yourself with people that knows the truth. Talk about it, study together, learn together, build yourselves together. You understand? And this, even though it's perverted, there are a lot of facts here. So read it and understand it. And if you don't understand, ask questions from people. Don't go in this book with the mindset that you're already a part of some religious group or sect. Please study, understand who the Creator is, learn who the Creator is. We don't need this to know who the Creator is. But if you're looking for information to suit yourself, then go ahead, read. But read and understand it, right? And the Hebrew Israelite, as I said, they are scattered among the nation this very moment. They have been treated the same way they've been treated by the Egyptians when they were there. The low-end jobs, beaten in the street, ganged upon, tossed aside every other nation. And you, my brothers and sisters, are called a byword. Pay attention to that very carefully. A byword. You've been called that by all nations. All nations will call you a byword. The only people on the planet, according to the prophecy, said you're called by a byword, right? Coon, monkey, black. You know what I'm talking about. How to identify the Hebrews today? Pay attention to what's going on, and you will know. We will definitely get back into this next time. I have to thank you guys for sitting here with us. And I hope you guys get some information from this. And if you have any question, as I'm saying, I will be speaking the truth and nothing but the truth here. So if you have any question, any Christians, Islam, Muslim, Hinduism, Hindu, Buddhism, Buddhas, followers of Buddha, whoever you are, whatever questions you have, whatever listening to this video, watching it, whatever questions you have, you can come here and ask me anything, whatever, professors, archaeologists, whoever you are, Egyptologists, whoever you are, theologian, whatever, historian, you can come here and talk. I'm willing to have any conversation with anyone. So if you want to talk about something, please do. Please do come. Leave your questions. Leave your answers. If you've something that you didn't understand, please ask in the comment. I'll be happy to respond to you guys. So I have to thank you again for staying with us here on The Naked Truth. We have to close out, tomorrow. Tomorrow is another day. And I hope you guys enjoy this day, this very moment in time. And I hope you enjoy what they call the weekend, right? With your friends and family, and do that which is righteous, man. And love the Most High with all your mind, your heart, and your soul. Which religion is best? There is no religion that is best that you know today that exists in this earth. We are spiritual people, right? So we should worship the Most High because He is a spiritual person. This is why the Bible speaks about faith, because faith is the evidence of things not seen but hoped for. Faith exists because that which we seek, right, is not a physical thing. It's a spiritual thing. So we have to get together and learn how to love, right, the Creator of us, the one that put us here with all our beings, right? Just like you would love a woman and you have this deep, passionate feeling for her, right? We need to find this deep, passionate feeling for the Creator that put us here in this earth, right? That's what we have to do. So disregard all religions that you know of today, because none of them is good. All of them is paganistic, and all of them deal with idol worshiping, right? This is why the Most High said there is no idol, because beside Him, everything else is idol. He is not an idol, right? So now we have to worship Him and we have to love Him. The first stage is to love Him with all your mind, your heart, and your soul. This is what you have to find first, to find the Creator. Your life will change. Everything that you do will change when you find this, right? Just as I said, I give you the closest explanation we can give you, or example for you to feel this, is the love that you would have for a woman. This deep emotional connection that you have unlike anything that you feel before. Right? When you can do this, appreciate the Most High. When you look around you and you see the trees and the sun and the skies and everything that exists, and you know that you exist, and you know that there's a individual that give you the opportunity to exist. That's what you fall in love with, and you will find peace, happiness, and everything that you seek within this physical place. So, my people, thank you so much, and thanks for the last question there. Stay away from religion, stay away from church. Find the creator spirituality, and if you need to talk to someone, contact me. I'll be here to talk with you, guide you through anything that you need. Thank you guys so much. Much love, respect, honor to you guys. May the Most High bless you and you're going out and you're going in. I thank you for tuning in with us, and stay tuned for ATO that's coming up next. And I hope you guys stay tuned for that entertainment. And we thank you again. Until next time, I will see you next Friday. One love and respect.